Alrighty, to celebrate the launch of this podcast, we're running an iTunes and Stitcher contest leading up to the first 10 episodes of our show. One lucky winner is going to get an invite to become a founding member of our Founders Connect Inner Circle Mastermind group, which is normally worth $840 USD per year to join. We're also going to give one lucky winner a 30-minute marketing blast-off consulting call with myself or a 30-minute ideal relationship coaching call with Cindy. We normally charge $500 per session, so definitely worth it. You can also win user licenses to a couple of our favorite online marketing tools thanks to our awesome contest partners. We'll announce the winners on episode 11, so if you'd like to become a founding member of our Founders Connect Inner Circle or get some marketing or relationship coaching, head on over to foundersconnect.co/win to enter now.
Welcome to Founders Connect podcast. We help lifestyle entrepreneurs to grow their business online and create a happier marriage.
Did you know that approximately 45% of marriages end up in divorce and 65% of all startups fail due to founder conflicts? Well, we're here to change that.
Each week we bring you an inspiring guest and practical tips to help you with business, relationships, and sustainable living. Now let the fun begin!
Hi founders, I'm Cindy
And I'm Anthony.
and we're here to talk about
How to start a business.
exactly with
We've got our special guest today on the show. His name is Nachum Kligman. I hope I've got that right.
Yeah, that was great.
Just a bit of a background. So Nachum is a visionary entrepreneur, brand builder, marketer, and business consultant through his company, Book Like a Boss. And we're very excited to talk about business building and productivity and all the cool things that very smart and clever entrepreneurs should know about. So welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me. It's great to be here.
A couple of interesting tidbits I found on your bio was that you were the first person in history to own a pizza store on Rechov near, is it Shirim?
Mea Sharim.
Near Shirim, which is one of the oldest Jewish neighborhoods in Jerusalem, I believe.
Yeah, it's an ultra-Orthodox neighborhood in Jerusalem where they really shy away from any type of places that have social gatherings. A pizza place was pretty much banned for a while until I opened up one. I did that for about a year and then it was banned again.
Interesting. So what made you want to go and do that?
I always wanted to have my own restaurant. And at the time I was a cook in a school and, I always wanted to have my own business. And even as a young kid, I always dabbled in catering. And so, I love people. I love interacting with people. I was always creative and I love creating new dishes, etc. And the opportunity came. It was actually someone else had the store and he asked me to come in as a partner. And he had mono, which I didn't know at the time. But about a month later, he had to back out and he sold me his 50% of the store. And that's how I got started with it.
Oh, fantastic. So do you have your own special pizza recipe?
No, pizza, there's only so much you could do with it. But I did have a couple of creative dishes. One was a recipe called a milky cholent. Probably your listeners are not familiar with cholent, but it's a traditional Jewish dish. And it's usually made with meat, beans, and barley and potatoes. And I made it, instead of meat, I made it with cheese, mozzarella pizza cheese. And it was actually quite tasty.
There you go. All right. Now I want to try it. I love
we
it.
better go there and try it.
Okay. So now another interesting bit about you is you also have your own successful weekly podcast called the From Entrepreneur.
From Entrepreneur.
From Entrepreneur. Okay. Which is consistently one of the top Jewish podcasts on iTunes. Could you just share with us and our audience, what is a From Entrepreneur?
Sure. From Entrepreneur is also the name of my book called The From Entrepreneur. It's really geared towards the Jewish Orthodox audience that I'm most well known in. And From means Orthodox. It means somebody that follows the laws of the Torah.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I do is when I interview different entrepreneurs and talk about business, and in my book itself, I imbue Torah ethics into the discussion.
I love that. So
That's great.
Yeah, we're getting a cultural lesson here right now. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Pleasure.
So, okay, now Cindy, you've got a question.
Of course, I love this question. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how weird are you?
Depends who you ask. I try to hide my weirdness in the public eye. But I think everybody, one person's weird is another person's genius, right? And so it really depends on who the audience is. If you ask my wife, she'd probably say 10.
Oh, no. Tell me weirdo.
Yeah, you ask my kids. I don't know. I guess And if you want to say what makes me weird, I don't know if it's weird, but something that helped shape me as a business person is not really caring what other people thought about me. And because I didn't have that, I never held back from doing things or trying things that other people may think is weird or crazy or like, what are you doing type stuff. And so I always stood out from that in my entrepreneurial career. When I was a counselor in camp, I did things that people didn't even think about, and I don't know if that's weird or just different, but I like to think differently and do differently.
That's totally weird. I agree with your wife.
Well, I think just behind the scenes here, I think Cindy can resonate with that message. That's how she lives her life. Fantastic. Do you have a quote that drives you? Is there sort of a quote or a saying or a phrase from your faith or from just somewhere that really drives you as a human being?
You know what? There is a great quote. I'm going to give it to you in a second. I'll just say that everybody in life, when you listen to podcasts usually, or you read articles about people, you only hear about the good stuff. I mean, sometimes you hear about the challenges and everything, but every single person is human. I mean, that's what makes us people. We all have life's challenges. One of the quotes I really like is, prayer is not to get you out of trouble. Trouble is to get you into prayer.
Oh, I like it.
And that's by a rabbi named Rabbi Hutner. And it really resonates with me. People think, you have problems and stuff, but really, what God wants from us is to connect with him. And sometimes trouble will come in order to get us to connect with him.
I think I resonate with that. Totally understand.
So Cindy's looking at me while she's saying that, so I don't know what she's suggesting. But yes, trouble has come.
It definitely has come and stayed.
That's a fantastic quote. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So who's been your greatest mentor in life or career, and what did you learn from them?
That's a great question. The way I'll answer it is I'll tell you some advice I got that really was life-altering for me. And it happened at a young age. When I was younger, I was bullied a lot as a kid, and, by neighborhood bully. And this is going back, obviously, like 40 years ago. 40? Yeah, maybe starting like 35, 40 years ago. And this kid would come and he'd beat me up and make fun of me all the time. And I remember it must have been about 11 years old or so when he beat me up again. And I remember going to my house crying. And my grandmother was in the room. And she said to me, "Why are you crying?" I said, "Because, this guy, he beat me up and he always beats me up and I just can't take it anymore." And she said something to me that was very profound and actually altered my life. She said to me, "Hit him back." And a light bulb went off my eyes and said, I could hit him back? Like, I didn't know that I could stand up for myself. I didn't know that you could fight off a bully and they could fight back. And so what happened was the next time he attacked me, next time he jumped at me, I started pounding him. I just let years of aggression off on him. I started punching him and kicking him and just getting all my frustration out of him. And I remember him, looking up at me after I did this. And he said to me, "What took you so long?"
Oh, wow.
And it was very empowering because as I walked away, I realized my life at that point would never be the same. I realized that, wow, I have power. I have strength. I can fight back. I could take this world, by the horns and make it my own. And, I was a pretty good passive kid, very good kid. And so this attitude, actually today we call it bossitude, which we'll get to a little bit later. That's, one of the themes of our company is having bossitude and everybody being a boss of their lives and, taking control of their lives. But, it got me into a lot of trouble because, with this empowerment just made me feel so powerful that I started not caring what anyone else thought. I didn't care what teachers thought. I didn't care what principals did. I didn't care what my parents did, unfortunately. It was a learning curve. It was a little too much at one time. And, I definitely regret a lot of stuff, from my past. Today, I've definitely toned it down and I realized there is a greater power in this world than you do have to answer for your actions. But at the time, as far as an entrepreneur and starting a business, as Reid Hoffman says from LinkedIn, starting a business is like jumping off a cliff and building an airplane on the way down, right? You have to be a risk taker. You have to be able to put up with the no's and put up with the people that are putting you down, saying, "No, you can't do it." And whenever I hear that, it just makes me want to do it even more.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think what I'm really connecting to, just thank you for sharing your story, first of all. The part that I really resonate with is how often do we say no to ourselves? And that's the big one that we need to work through. I mean, we've got the external voices, but the internal voice is often louder.
Absolutely. I think that's what holds a lot of people back is that they feel they can't succeed. There's a fear of failure. There's a fear of what other people are going to say. Once you remove that, if you don't care what other people are going to say, then, life's the limit. I mean, you can just do whatever you want, obviously within your religious and legal rules, right?
Yes.
But in terms of, holding you back, the things that hold back people, successful entrepreneurs are successful because they're not hold back. Nobody can tell them no. They just move forward and they're not afraid of the nose and they're not afraid of failure. Right? If you're not afraid of failure, then you just look at the success. That's what keeps you going, especially through the hard times, which we talked about before.
Absolutely. All right. So now let's talk about your bossitude I love that. So what is Book Like a Boss? And for our audience here, how did you guys begin?
Great question. So Book Like a Boss started, it's funny, after being in high tech for about 20 years, one of my children is special needs. He has cerebral palsy and he used to drool a lot and he always wore a bib. And then when he was about 11 years old or so, I said, why should an 11-year-old kid be wearing a bib? And I tried to look for alternatives out there. They had like handkerchiefs or stuff you could wrap around the neck, but there was nothing that was inclusive that, made him feel like everyone else.
Yeah.
And so I went out to create a shirt that actually had a bib on the inside. So it was quick dry, antibacterial, it was made from bamboo, and it was, something that he could wear and not feel embarrassed. And I actually launched a campaign on Kickstarter, which did pretty well. And I realized that there was a need, around the world for, good quality shirts that, had the bib on the inside. So I turned the Kickstarter into a company. And, this is a long story, so I'll try to make it short. But the bottom line is, manufacturing in China ended up being a nightmare. And I had some bad investors that promised me the world and then broke every promise, like, a month later. And so the company closed down and I'd put like 2.5 years and a lot of my life savings into the company. And, when it was done, when you start a company, you put everything into it. You put your, every second, every breath, goes into building the company. It's like another child. And after this one failed, I said, you know what, let me take a break from starting companies. I had a book I wanted to write, which we talked about before in the podcast, and I wanted to do some consulting and help other people before I got back into the grind of starting a company. And what happened was because of the book and because of the podcast, I started getting phone calls and emails all the time from people asking me, can I take you out for coffee? Can we do lunch? Can I pick your brain, et cetera? And I wish there was a way that I could just send somebody a link that says, hey, this is who I am. Here's my calendar. They could book me and pay for it all in one place. And that way it would cut down on time. And people that were serious about booking me would pay my $200 at the time, $200 an hour fee. They would learn more about me, see testimonials, et cetera. And there was no software that really existed out there that did that. Sure, there were, calendar apps out there, but I wanted like a full experience. So I tried building it myself in WordPress. And that ended up being a nightmare, trying to get the calendar to work with PayPal and Stripe and get the video to go and look at a mobile and all these different things. And so I said, you know what, let me just ask an expert to do it. And I got a quote for about $3,000. I said, forget it, I'm not paying $3,000 just to build this page. And as I'm thinking about this, a friend of mine whose sister is a masseuse emails me and he forwards me an email from his sister. And she said, you know what, I'm not technical at all, but is there an easy platform I could just list? These are the massages I offer. Here's my calendar and let people book me and pay for it all in one place. And when he said it to me, a light bulb went off. And I said, you know what? If I'm as a business coach, as a business consultant has this need, and here's a woman who's a masseuse has this need, the gig economy continues to grow like wildfire. I bet there are probably hundreds of thousands of other people that has this need. And as I'm thinking about it, a good friend of mine who was, treated horribly by a company and had just left the company, he was CTO and they really treated him bad. He had just left the company and I pitched him on the idea. I said, listen, this idea I have, and he absolutely loved it. His name is David. And he loved the idea. And we decided to go into business together. That's how Book Like a Boss got started, to build an easy to use platform to take bookings, sell services, and make money. And about 3 months after that, we brought on our third co-founder, Lloyd Schroeder, who is an awesome designer. And he does all our design and branding for Book Like a Boss. And we're off to the races.
How long ago was that?
We started about 2.5 years ago.
Fantastic. You've got a team. So is it only the three of you, or what's the size of the team at present?
So now it's 4, and we do some outsourcing as well. But we have Donnie, who's our VP of E, our VP of everything.
That's like Cindy. Okay.
Did you know that financial intimacy can lead to better sexual intimacy with your significant other? Money is never just about dollars and cents. Money is wrapped up with emotions such as fear, insecurity, envy, and guilt, and attitudes such as control. So want to improve your financial intimacy? Grab our free guide at www.foundersconnect.co/financial intimacy today. You are listening to the Founders Connect podcast, helping lifestyle entrepreneurs to grow their business online and create a happier marriage. Now back to the show.
And are you all located in the same city or are you around the world? How's the structure of the team?
So we're all in Israel. David actually lives about 2-minute walk away from me. Lloyd lives in a city called Evan Shmuel, which is about 30 minutes away. And Donnie lives about 10 minutes away.
Close proximity.
Yeah. Do you have your own office so that you'll meet every day or do you do things remote? I'm always curious about how teams are structured now.
Yeah, so a great question. David, who's, one of the top programmers I've ever come across and had the privilege to work with, he just needs to be in focus mode. And so he has an office in his home and he just, he doesn't want to be bothered. Just like lock him up, give him some coffee, and he just does his thing.
I think Am does the same.
Yeah.
Just coffee.
Oh, yeah.
Put me in a dungeon. Yeah.
Exactly. That's what he likes to do. Lloyd likes to work from a cafe, actually. So we work from a cafe, and Donnie just travels around place to place and does his thing. But I have an office, and we use the office also when we need to meet. We all get together. But really, we're in communication with each other almost all day using WhatsApp, what we use the most.
Brilliant. Now, you mentioned the Bossitude. So could you talk about the evolution of that and how that's impacted you as a team?
Absolutely. So Bossitude is something, again, I've thought about my whole life, and the name really just came to me about a year and a half ago. But it's the attitude of, we only have one life to live, and we need to be the boss of our own lives. And you have to treat your life as if it's, a business to an extent, right? That even if you work for somebody else, which, is great and, is fantastic for a lot of people, but you should think of your job as if you were the boss, as if you owned the company, and you should act and work your job as if you were the CEO. And that should be the case in all areas of life, whether it's relationships, friendships, business or fun, your education, direction, whatever you do. You have to have the attitude that you're the CEO of your life, right? And it's having that attitude and not letting people put you down. And that's what gets you moving forward. That's what gets you taking life by the horns and moving forward with it. So Gary Vaynerchuk is somebody I learned a lot from, as I'm sure probably, hundreds of thousands of other people as well. And, he talked a lot about how every company is a media company. And, so part of our long-term strategic goal was to have a media company that was geared towards helping people find their bossitude and help them succeed in their side hustles and in their businesses. And so we created bossitude.com. And if you go to bossitude.com, that's where we have a lot of articles that help a lot of entrepreneurs and solopreneurs and side hustlers. And with Bossitude, eventually it'll grow into, I'm actually launching a podcast for it in the next couple of weeks. And hopefully we're going to start doing some events and really build a brand about this movement, what I call like the new entrepreneur, this movement of people not taking no for an answer and moving forward to lives as entrepreneurs and side hustlers and, business owners.
Wow, that's great words and wise words there. So we have to remember that. So what are the common myths business people make when it comes to productivity and maximizing time?
Like, what do we use for that?
Do you see any myths about productivity, seeing that you work in the time
myths
and productivity space? Yeah. Any sort of myths that you come across?
That's a great question. Like a lot of entrepreneurs out there, I have a lot of ADHD, so I'm probably not the best at productivity. I'm more visionary in ideas, and when it comes down to the nitty-gritty details, I always hire other people to help with that because it's not one of my fortes. But there's definitely tools out there that help us with productivity. It's definitely the distraction of social media and smartphones definitely has an impact, and it's not a myth to say that it affects people. You go into a restaurant today, you walk in the streets, you even go to a celebration, to a party, and more than 80% of the people are looking at their phones. And it is very hard to be productive and to get work done if you're always looking at the next message comes in or the next like. And again, it's a deeper discussion in terms of, why are people addicted to social media? The adrenaline rush you get when somebody likes your post, having that need for, people to give you the need for, I guess, empowerment that you get when other people like your posts. And then again, this goes back to what we spoke about earlier, that if you don't have that need, if you don't need that verification from other people, well, then you're able to put the social media down a lot easier. And it allows you to be creative, that when you do post something, it's something that resonates more with you, and it's not for what other people are going to say about it.
Yeah, the distinction between doing it for yourself versus doing it for others is a really good one. So that's a really good tip. Now, you've worked on over 20 different businesses and whatnot. So when it comes to starting a new business, what advice do you have around, how to choose which projects to go forward with and how to ensure that you're putting enough attention for it to actually grow?
So what you're asking is, what are the most important questions anyone could ask someone starting a business? And it's a big mistake that people make. And this is why I actually started getting into consulting, because I saw so many people, good people, that were either throwing good money on bad ideas or they weren't the right people to run those ideas. But the first thing that you have to see is there somebody that is willing to pay for your product or service at a price point that you could become profitable? And a lot of times people overlook this important step, because I always tell people, and I even did it with Book Like a Boss. I went to 20 people and said, hey, if this software existed, would you pay for it? And how much would you pay? Before you do any business, because it could be a good idea and people could say, I love it, but if not willing to pay for it, or the amount of money they're willing to pay for it won't cover your bills, then there's no point in moving forward with it. Unless you have like some genius idea, the one in a million, like Snapchat or Facebook or whatever, everybody wants to be the next one. 99.9% people fail doing that because you need so much money, right? You need so much money to get those eyeballs. And that's also one of the things that I did differently. All the businesses and experiences that I had, led up to Book Like a Boss. And when we created Book Like a Boss, that's actually one of the reasons why the name is Book Like a Boss, because we wanted to be bosses and we wanted to do things our own way. And in my life, I've gotten taken advantage by investors in the past. In this business, we decided to do something that could make money from day one. So we made sure that there was a way to monetize, and it wasn't just about advertising around it. And really, since we launched about 1.5 years ago, we've been earning revenue and making money ever since.
So take us back to that sort of initial ideation stage, and I guess what you're calling the validation. When you're asking people, how much would you pay for this? I've often come across where people don't actually know what they'd pay for it because they don't know what the value of it is. So, case in point for a Book Like a Boss, there's other tools out there. Like you said, they're a calendar tool. So people would say, well, I can get this calendar tool for free. Why would I pay for Book Like a Boss? So how did you sort of handle that when you started the business?
Great question. So we always positioned it, even though when we launched and as part of our launch strategy, we always positioned it as a calendar app for the last year or so. But when talking to people, we went with the overall vision, and, entrepreneurship and startups is a game, and it sometimes takes a long time to play, and you have to have a long-term strategy. And so from the beginning, it wasn't just about a calendar app. Even in the beginning, when we first came up with the idea, it was more to focus on selling services, not on scheduled bookings. But what we saw from the beginning was that people had a hard time understanding, what do you mean selling services? But everybody understood about having a calendar app. But when I was pitching people in those early days and asking them, and I asked this masseuse, and she had this need, she said, if I created this platform that was very easy to use, would you pay $20 a month for it? If it meant getting bookings, if it meant checking your orders and seeing your clients and having some marketing tools, and, it just worked great and, worked out of the box and looked good on mobile. And she said, absolutely. Because with one booking, it could pay for 3-4 months of the software. So I knew that if we could bring value and bring things that no one else was offering, selling it at a price point for any small business, as $20, $30, $40 a month, it really becomes a no-brainer for what it does.
I really like that approach. Now you've got a team of 4, you mentioned. What's worked best for you guys in terms of generating new leads for your business?
Thank God we've grown to over 12,000 users in over 100 countries in the last 1.5 years since we launched our MVP. And we really have been bootstrapping. We've turned down offers. We've turned down $1 million offer, a $1 million investment for the company. So we haven't really put any money in marketing. Everything we've achieved until now was all, done through word of mouth. And, it was the viral effect of having a powered by Book Like a Boss in the bottom of our users' pages. And also when an email confirmation went out for a booking from any of our clients, or if they embed it on their websites, their calendars, or if reminder emails went out, it always had like a little powered by Book Like a Boss. We do have a top plan where you can remove that branding, but for the most part, especially in the early days, 90% of our users have this Powered by Book Like a Boss. And so we've been getting a lot of traffic and we've been growing virally without actually spending any money on marketing.
Fantastic.
Yep, definitely great.
I like it. It's very simple. And I think
Yeah.
that fact escapes a lot of people is to keep it very simple. And that's why it's working for you. Now, I know you also have an affiliate program. Is that working the way you want it, or is there still room for improvement there for you?
That's a great question. Yeah, if you go to makemoneylikeaboss.com, that's our affiliate program. We do have over 1,200 registered users because what we did was we said, hey, keep the Powered by Book Like a Boss.com, Powered by Book Like a Boss logo on your page. But if somebody clicks on your page and ends up, buying our software, you'll get a commission on it. So we have paid out thousands and thousands of dollars in commissions, but we haven't really figured out the best way to help our users. Like giving them banner ads is nice, but how can we really take our affiliate program to the next level is something we're still trying to figure out.
Cool. Okay. We'll have to think about that. I might throw some ideas your way.
You are listening to the Founders Connect podcast, helping lifestyle entrepreneurs to grow their business online and create a happier marriage. Now back to the show.
What bullshit do you see going around your industry that you disagree with, Nachum?
Since starting Book Like a Boss, I've become a huge fan of SaaS companies. And, I just came back from SaaS Doc 2018 in Dublin, which was an amazing conference of thousands of people in the software as a service industry. And I think there is no better model today than a SaaS model. It's just brilliant. Whether you charge $30 a month or you charge $3,000 a month, having software that many people can use from around the world, without having to manufacture anything, without having to do shipping, you have consistent income that you can count on, and you just really have to concentrate on growth. It's just a very, very exciting model. Even though I still have a desire to open up a steakhouse one day, and I have other entrepreneurial ideas, if I do those things, those projects will be out of love. But if I started another company, again, it would definitely be in the SaaS area. I just think the model is brilliant.
So what do you see are some of the pitfalls? So having built your own SaaS, and probably others that you've worked on, what are some common pitfalls entrepreneurs get into when they're trying to develop a SaaS product and put it out there?
I may be putting myself down in answering this, but there's always a fight between, launching too early or, feature creep, trying to get one more feature out, etc. And it takes a lot of patience to build a company. It doesn't happen overnight. We've been doing this for 2.5 years, which, in SaaS time or startup time, it's not a long time. But when you're somebody like me that just wants to have everything ready and just wants to get everything out and give our clients everything they want, it hurts me when a client wants something and I can't give it to them right away. Especially today, everything is push button. We want results today. And so when we have clients and users that want certain features and I can't give it to them, it's painful. And it's also painful that things just take time. It just takes time to build proper software and to do it right and to do it without bugs. And so my team understands that, and David obviously understands that. He's the one building it. And, throwing resources at it is not always the best answer. And it's also, if we would have taken the $1 million investment, probably could have hired some other top developers, but we didn't do this or build this to give away, at that time, the guy wanted 40% of the company. So it's that fine combination of being bootstrapped, trying to keep control of your company while still moving forward and trying to give your customers what they want. But sometimes people wait too long before launching. For us, I held back from marketing and really pushing the product until we had certain features ready that would make us competitive out there. At this point, I actually feel that we are more than competitive. We have features that no one else has, and yet everything else that everyone else has. And we see every day people leaving a lot of our competitors and joining us. But I would say don't wait. Don't wait to get the first version out. And when we did launch a year and a half ago, we have about 30 features, 30 top quality, good features out today that we didn't have when we first launched. And if we would have held back, if we would have waited till we had these things, who knows if we'd be where we are today.
Yeah, you would have suffered from analysis paralysis like a lot of us.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Thanks for sharing that. So what is the 5-year plan, if you have one, for Book Like a Boss? Where do you guys want to take the company?
I'll try to answer that without being too detailed because we do have a vision and we do have ideas and we know where we want to take it. It's going to actually be awesome. And really what we just did and what we produced today is really just getting started. It's like the foundation, but there is so much more we're going to be doing with the platform. But I don't want to give too much details publicly.
Coming soon,
okay. Simply because we know that our competition is watching us closely. A few of them, we know that for a fact. So I don't want to give too much away in terms of strategy, what we're going to be doing. But the goal really, 5 years from now, we hope to have a couple million users around the world using us as the platform to sell services and take bookings. And even today, there was a lot of things that I did to put, talking about foundation and preparing for global. The mindset has always been global. Even though a lot of people say and preach, hey, stay niche, stay small, stick to one user type, one customer type. But we have thousands and thousands of users from around the world of every age and, men, women, and children, college kids, seniors. I mean, everybody uses the platform in so many different ways. So it's very hard to hone in. And I wanted to make it global from the beginning. So right now, our website can be used, our software can be used in German, French, Spanish, and English with over 15 different currencies. And we hope to, eventually add more languages and really make it a global software company.
I love the vision. I love that. So is there at least a feature on the roadmap in the next 12 months that you can share with us that you're quite excited about?
One that I'm very excited about is what we call enterprise. Right now, we built a software for the solo entrepreneur or the individual user, the side hustler in mind. But we've gotten tremendous requests to be able to have multiple people on a team use the software. So if you're a law office and you have, 15 lawyers working for you, to be able to have one account, but to give each lawyer their own booking page. That's going to be the foundation of our enterprise software. And the first version has been written out and scoped out. And we hope to start building that in the next month or so.
That's definitely exciting. All right. So Cindy, you've got a question, Nachum?
Yes, this question is about what's the biggest challenge you have running your own business and maintaining a happy and healthy relationship with your wife and family?
So that's a great question because on the one hand, being an entrepreneur and starting a business, you have to be all in. On the other half is that you have to always remember what's really important in life and your purpose in life. It is a tough balance, but I'd say there's two things. First of all, before going anywhere, and I mentioned this in my book as well, is one of the most important things that you need to succeed as an entrepreneur is to have a spouse that is fully behind you. And I've been blessed with my wife, who has just always been the foundation, has always been the wind beneath my wings, who never, ever once, we're married almost 20 years now, through all the hard times and the failures and the challenges, she never once said the word to me, get a job. She knew and understood who I was and who I am and was my support system and always believed in me. And so having a spouse that believes in you and is your strength is tremendously important to being successful. So that being said, I always make time for the kids between, let's say, 6 and 7:30. I come home, have dinner with them, or watch them have dinner, I should say. I usually eat a little bit later. But, there to talk about their day, give them hugs and kisses, and, make sure I'm always there for them every single day. They didn't know they could speak to me and have time with me. And then also, being a Sabbath observer from Friday night till Saturday night, it's 25 hours where there's no computers, no cell phones, no distractions. It's really just a time of, we have 3 big meals together as a family. And, we spend a lot of time in prayer and synagogue. And it's really great time to bond with each other. And of course, extra holidays thrown in throughout the year adds to that. One of the things that I've worked on is that when a kid comes to me, make sure my phone is down and also that I'm with them to put my phone away so that they know that the focus is on them.
That's a great tip, isn't it? Put your phone away.
Getting harder and harder for a lot of us.
Yeah. Definitely a challenge.
All right, so we're going to just wrap up here. Really appreciate the conversation so far, Nachum. What's one book or resource that is rarely mentioned that has made a significant impact on your life or your business?
That is a great question. All the popular ones, I guess you don't want. I haven't had time to think about this, but I'll state the obvious, which for me is, the Torah, the Bible, just because that, affects every moment of my day. And it affects how, I relate to people, how we treat people, treating people how you want to be treated, the respect that you have to have. I remember one horrible story. A friend of mine was working in a restaurant and she messed up an order or something. And the boss yelled at her in front of the customers. And she was mortified. And, embarrassing somebody publicly is like killing them. It's like one of the worst things you could do. And I think one of the things, we all have to be humble. We all have to realize that that it doesn't matter if you're the boss or if you're, extremely successful. Nobody is better than anyone else. It doesn't matter if it's a waitress and you're the CEO, or if it's somebody that works for you, everybody's just as important. Everybody has family. Everybody was created in the image of God. Everybody has the right to be treated with respect. So I think, as I go about my business day and I interact with people, I always try to be the best I can be and treat everybody with the love and respect that they deserve. And I think in a lot of ways, that's actually, in terms of my networking, I think that's actually what's led to a lot of the fantastic relationships I have today.
I think that's so true, though. If you treat the way you want to be treated, then definitely the world will be a fantastic place.
Absolutely.
So after all said and done, what do you want to be remembered for?
I guess I want to be remembered for somebody that gave back and was able to help other people. One of life's challenges is being able to support yourself and support your family. There's a lot of poverty around the world, a lot of hardships around the world that affects everybody. But if I could somehow make a dent by helping other people be successful in businesses and starting their own business, which obviously when you start a business or create a company, that creates jobs. If I could help other people do that successfully, then I'd be a happy man.
Well, all I can say is you're on your way, my friend. Well done. And
thank you.
Just sort of quickly, you've got 8 kids you mentioned before the call. So are any of those looking like they're going to be entrepreneurs?
It's funny. Yeah, actually, a couple of them, I think. My middle sons are very entrepreneurial, which I try to shy them away from. I'd rather them concentrate on their school and on their studies. But my son Yitzi, he's 11 going on 15. He's always hustling and selling stickers or, selling cards and all these different things. But, I guess they love me and they want to, kids emulate their parents. So I guess there's no going around that. And truth is, I would tell my kids, I'd rather them start their own business and make their own impact than working for someone else if they had to.
There you go. Nachum, thank you so much for your time. We love Book Like a Boss. Obviously, we are one of your customers, and also we appreciate partnering with you for our giveaway. So for everyone listening, go check out our contest page where you can actually win a license to Book Like a Boss and actually experience the amazing software for yourself. Any last words before we sign off?
I just want to say thank you. Thank you for the initiative, and thank you for including us as part of the contest. You guys, we're on the same mission, helping people and helping founders and learning from each other. So just really thank you for the initiative, and thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. And we will definitely have to check out more of your Bossitude website and mission, and we'd love to join in on that any way we can. Thank you for your
awesome.
Thank you so much.
So that was our interview with Nachum from Book Like a Boss. And what did you think of that interview? What did you learn from that one, Cindy?
I like the Bossitude term, the way he said it. I think the way you live your life should be the boss of your life. That is a great way to turn it around and have that kind of thought. So if everybody were to be the boss of their life, I think the world would be a very, very different place.
I totally agree. It's all about the attitude you bring, especially in tough circumstances like Nachum experienced being bullied as a kid and learning that when you stand up for what you want and who you are, there's nothing stopping you, really. And that's a very powerful attitude to have. I love that they're doing a movement around that. And so the key lesson I took away from that was just around starting a new business and really making sure that you very early on go out and validate the idea, which means you go and talk to a bunch of people and ask them, would you buy this and how much would you pay for it? And if you can, get them to give you some money right away for it. So if you have enough, 10 or 20 people like Nachum did with Book Like a Boss, then that's a good sign for you to move forward to start building the thing, right? So whether it's a product or a service, and that's something that a lot of business owners or want to be business owners don't do, and they get so busy doing content and everything else, but they actually avoid talking to the potential customers. So that's my takeaway, and very, very cool guy to have on our show, and also one of our great partners for our giveaway.
Yes, thank you, Nachum, for that.
In our next episode, we're talking all about repurposing content and the 3 places your podcast must be to maximize your reach with special guest Hani Muri from repurpose.io.
And remember to live passionately,
purposefully,
and confidently. Till next time, ciao!